Okay, here we have a 1934 Indian Scout, also known as the Standard Scout. So basically what you had was a 45 cubic inch 750cc motor in a Chief frame. You've also got the saddle tanks here, 2.5 saddle tanks, as opposed to the in-mounted tank of the earlier 28, 29, 30, 31 Scouts. Very, very good concept if you ask me. Very smooth in operation. Also helps if the flywheels are balanced properly. Very, very important for a smooth as it gets ride, period specific to 1934. But today we'll move on to the startup procedure for this fine marquee. So before we even turn the ignition on, what we'll do is we'll come over to here and find one of two. This is the left hand side fuel tap. Turn him on, of course, allowing fuel to come down here into the bowl. Carburettor that's fitted here quite distinctly is an M741-1. That's a military style carburettor, but with a little bit of work and tuning, they work very, very well in this concept. Okay, so after we've turned the fuel on, here on the air throat cover of the carby, we turn this up into that position. So as you can see, it's in line with the prime. So after you've set the carburettor linkage to prime, most important to come down here, the running board operated foot clutch, and ensure that your clutch is disengaged. Okay, that part of the clutch rocker, foot rocker if you like, coming into contact with the left hand floorboard. That's your next step. Of course, first and foremost should have been checking fuel. This little gadget here is a primer. You take that out of there, and in cold, snowy climates, you dole out or meter out the fuel with that into here. But let's check the fuel. I'm assuming that we have fuel. So the next step, after we've set the carburettor to prime, is we come over to here and we put that on full throttle. And there's no spring return on these earlier carby concepts, so where you twist that throttle, make it more interesting on the Indians, you have a throttle on the left hand side. So make sure that's fully on before we start, and the carburettor on prime and the clutch disengaged. Okay, after that throttle is fully on, we come over to here to the ignition. We put that to the on position. You'll notice that your ammeter goes off 0 and moves over to the discharged section of the ammeter. And a quick check to see how your battery is. Nice sounding horn. And with that, we're ready to give the bike a kick. Now before we start the bike, of course, we're in neutral. Over to here, in the direction of my hand, towards the rear of the bike is first. Neutral is here, followed by second, positioned about there. And third, as far as it goes all the way forward, ends up being about here. Third, second, neutral, and first. So rocking the bike back and forwards tells us that it is in neutral. Now the next step is a bit hard with one hand. We pull the kicker pedal out and we give that one sharp kick without the ignition on, of course. We're doing a priming kick here without the ignition on. Ignition has been turned back off because we need to do a priming kick just to get the parcel of fuel into the combustion chamber ready for when we turn the ignition on. Okay, so there's one kick. Just priming the combustion chamber up. Now, before we start it, we take the full throttle off and cut that back to nothing, and then we crack it open between quarter and a third. Take it off the full position, zero it back to the quarter and a third throttle. And now we turn the ignition off, just checking. Yep. And now we give it one brisk kick to start the bike up. Warm up. I usually warm it up for about 3 minutes, 4 minutes before I engage gear and head off. Actually, we can open that throttle, the choke valve up fully. We can open up the choke valve, butterfly valve up fully now. The revs down a bit. Okay, just speaking over the noise of the engine. Once it's running, you take it off, warm up, and place it in the open position. The open position is third with the choke butterfly valve, and the throat of the carburettor is fully open, as suggested here by that logo there, open. There you have the start-up procedure for a 1934 Indian Standard Scout. Give you a bit of a look-see here. One company. Just to follow up the rest of the bike, there's your variant specific Corbin going quite nicely. This actual bike here, you can see that the headlamp is quite proud. It sits up fairly high, and the seat in comparison is much lower. So in fact what you do have is you have a feeling of sitting in the bike and not on the bike. Over here the standard Scout motor is quite unique to other 45 cubic inch motors, simply because you'll have your points in this little capsule here, very, very close to the rear exhaust header. Well, that's all for now. I'll turn the bike off. I always like to turn my fuel off. Turn the ignition off. And there you have it. Well, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a few likes and running commentary. It's a very very rare marquee, not many standard Scouts about today, but most enjoyable ride with that 45 in a Chief frame. I believe it eliminates a lot of vibration with this application. It's quite smooth to ride, but also the balancing of those flywheels is also key, complemented with a good tune, tappets and points, and yes, all that assists too with the smooth running of the motor. Take care and all the best. And before we go, this is a fairly universal application here on the horn. These feathers extending the outer rim of the chrome horn cover. You have a somewhat angry chief. He's a very, very expressionless chief. Yeah, very upset, angry chief. All the best.